Liebe Leute, willkommen zurück zu Suzerain. Es geht weiter. Tja, wir haben offenbar unsere persönliche Sekretärin der Spionage überführt, oder Lucian hat das getan. Wir haben jetzt Peter, unseren Vizepräsidenten, der quasi seiner Pflicht nicht nachgekommen ist, indem er sie ohne Sicherheitskontrolle, ohne Background-Check auf die Stelle gesetzt hat, aufgefordert, sein Amt als Vizepräsident niederzulegen. Und wir werden jetzt eine Pressekonferenz geben anlässlich dieses Zwischenfalls. It was the morning of Livia's trial, and hordes of reporters were gathered in front of the state courthouse. Peter, Lucian and I stood by the entrance. Lucian had helped break the news of my secretary's arrest. Now the media was beginning to question exactly how a Romberg agent had been able to infiltrate the Maroon Palace. It was time for me to deliver an explanation. A podium with a bank of microphones awaited us on the courthouse steps. Peter looked uncertain. I told him I would be doing all the talking today. Remember what we talked about, Mr. President. How could I forget? I was about to blame my best friend for a scandal that would otherwise shatter my administration. Peter hadn't said a word to me since I broke the news to him in my office. Together we stepped behind the podium. The reporters clustered around us and started shouting questions. Please settle down. As you are aware, Ilana Vance, the Romberg spy who posed as my secretary, is currently on trial for espionage. Rest assured, a security breach of this magnitude shall never happen again. The traitor shall be brought to justice. Tja, was nehmen wir denn da mal? Security breach. Damit, ja, ist unklug sozusagen jetzt aus einer reinen praktikabel opportunen Sicht gesehen, sozusagen unklug, selber auf dieses Thema an sich einzugehen, ne? Aber im Grunde stimmt das ja. Rest assured, a security breach of this magnitude shall never happen again. However, the fact remains that she should never have been allowed to infiltrate our administration in the first place. She did so by exploiting the weakness of the vice president. That she did can be directly traced to the carelessness of one man. Das ist, glaube ich, ein bisschen sehr schroff. Also beides ist natürlich sehr offensiv gegen Peter, aber ja, sagen wir mal, she was exploiting the weakness of Vice President Vecton. The journalist gasped and murmured. Peter turned to face me, his mouth hanging open. Oh, das will ich auch beides wieder nicht. Mann, das Spiel zwingt mich hier zu Dingen, die ich überhaupt nicht tun möchte. Has disgraced my administration. A threat to the state. Disgrace. Therefore, the Vice President has tendered his resignation, effective immediately. The clamor of reporters was growing louder. Peter seemed to shrink behind the podium, his charisma failing him at last. That's it then, no going back from this. The reporters were becoming hard to ignore. One woman in the front row looked particularly insistent. Mr. Vector. Tja, sollen wir ihn sprechen lassen oder nicht? Ja, warum nicht? I nodded at Peter to take her question. Can you give us a comment on your resignation? No, President Rayne just about covered it. I'm a terrible vice president and a worse husband and a sad old drunk. Are you implying that you and the covered agent posing as President Rayne's secretary were engaged in intimate relations? Relations, yes. Intimate? I thought so at the time. Lucian interjected. Neither the president nor the vice president will be taking any more questions, thank you. The reporters reluctantly dispersed. Lucian, Peter and I looked at each other for what seemed like an eternity. Finally, Peter lowered his eyes. I guess I'll go to the palace and start packing my things then. I come with you. Peter shook his head. I watched him descend the courthouse steps to his car, alone. A shame about your friend, Mr. President, but it appears you will make it out of this unscathed. Of course, there's now the matter of replacing both your secretary and your vice president. Too soon. Very well, we shall discuss it tomorrow. We walked back up the stairs to the courthouse to watch the rest of the trial. Okay. Ups. Erzwungener Rücktritt. Tja. Ganz so, wie das Spiel mir das vorgelegt hat, wollte ich das natürlich nicht. Rumburg infiltrated Maroon Palace. President Secretary arrested. Okay. The president has taken swift, decisive action to remove her from her position and bring her to justice. President revealed that Vice President Vector was responsible both for hiring Rumburg spy Ilana Vance and disclosing sensitive information to her. Thankfully, with the arrest of Vance and the removal of Vector from office, the Swedish government is secure once more. Ist auch nichts Neues. Rayne pins spy scandal blame on Vector. Faced with an intelligence leak that could irreparably damage his administration, Anton Rayne passed the buck to hapless Vice President Peter Vector, who was forced to resign during a press conference on the courthouse steps today. He accused Vector of hiring presidential secretary and Rumburg spy Livia Zuno without a proper background check, and even hinted that the two were carrying on an affair. His dismissal of Vector may satisfy some, but we are duty-bound to get to the bottom of this scandal. Wir werden als allererstes mal einen neuen Vizepräsidenten, eine neue Vizepräsidentin benennen. It was here the day I'd been dreading since Peter's resignation. Ja, gestern, seit gestern. At the entrance to my office, my new secretary Sylvia took my hat and coat. She was a matronly woman in her 40s. Eine mütterliche Frau. Aha. She had a spotless background, assisting various Maroon Palace officials. Replacing Livia had been easy, but replacing my vice president would be difficult. Swedish law dictated that if a vice president failed to complete his term, new candidates were to be put forward by the members of the cabinet. After much deliberation, the list had been narrowed down to 3. Lucian Galate was the frontrunner, followed by Gloria Torrey and Albin Cleven. It was up to me to decide who would fill Peter's shoes. I wanted to chat with them one-on-one before making the decision. Das war der Anführer des Reformflügels, nicht wahr? Labeled as the face of the new generation of the USP. He has been calling for constitutional reforms. Also der wäre sozusagen der natürliche Verbündete. I had just begun und mein Gloria als Erzkonservative, sie ist halt die Sprecherin des Parlaments. Also nicht, ob man sie da rausziehen will. I had just also, könnte natürlich ein Schritt sein, sie unter Kontrolle zu bringen. I just begun to settle at my desk when I heard a knock at the door. Lucian entered and perched on the chair across from me. Sir. You're one hell of a strategist, but why should I make you vice president? It is precisely in my capacity as strategist that I have evaluated the experience and capabilities of your potential vice presidents. Objectively, I'm by far the most qualified candidate. I would advise you not only to think about our long history together, but also the many crises I've helped shepherd you through. I won't say much beyond that. I believe my work speaks for itself. Du bist so ein wertvoller Stratege. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich es mir leisten kann, dich in der Rolle zu verlieren. As Vice President, my ability to serve you in this administration will only increase. Lucian got up from his chair. I expect you will make the right decision. He left my office. Just a minute later, there was another knock at the door and Gloria Torrey came in. Mr. President, I must say I was not surprised at all when my name was put forward. Und warum nicht? One does learn to expect a few things after spending so many years in government. To put it simply, what I bring to the table is years of experience. I've been a member of the Assembly for almost 20 years and I spent 7 years as its Speaker. This alone speaks for itself. As you know, I'm also the leader of the conservative wing of the party. You can see what I'm getting at. You become vice president, I get the votes from the conservatives. Precisely, this would allow us to pass bills far more easily, especially if those bills are aligned to my bloc's causes. Sind sie aber nicht. I will think about it. I want you to know that I value order over everything else, Mr. President. Being the Speaker of the Assembly requires principled nerves like steel and determination to uphold proper conduct. You can expect to see the same of my vice presidency. You being a woman could also prove advantageous. Not just any woman, a strong woman who was able to protect order in a room full of unruly men for 7 years. Think about the message it would send. The first woman vice president of Sordlands. No, the first woman vice president in the whole continent. What support you would lose among traditionalists, you would gain tenfold among Sordish women. There is much to gain from selecting me, Mr. President. I believe you will make the right choice. I'd rather not align myself with the conservative wing. Ja, also wir haben halt keinerlei inhaltliche Übereinstimmung. I will consider it. I knew you would see reason. I wish you a nice day, Mr. President. Gloria made her way out. A minute later there was another knock at the door. This time it was Albin Cleven's turn. Greetings, Mr. President. It's a great honor to have been chosen as a candidate. Really terrific. Why should I pick you? As you know, I represent the reformist wing of the party. What Sordland needs today is not only to catch up to our more modern neighbors, but to surpass them. I believe we can do that. No, I'm sure. However, this will only be possible if we set aside our differences and unite as one. That is the outlook I wish to bring to the position of Vice President, so that Sordland can excel and soar to new heights. What can you provide me with? Very well. The fact is, if I'm the vice president, reformist members of our party will be more likely to support you and your causes. This will smooth the passage of bills and help move our administration and our country forward in record time. Makes sense. What this country needs is more dynamic, youthful leadership. Look at you, President Rayne. You became the youngest member of the assembly and completely rejuvenated Swedish politics. I want to do the same. We need to be able to take risks to make gains, and that is only possible with a forward-looking perspective. There, I've stated my case. I trust your judgment. Thank you, I will consider what you said. Thank you, Mr. President. Albin got up and left. I leaned back in my chair thinking about the pros and cons of each of my vice presidential candidates. I could almost hear Peter's voice in my head, laughing at the absurdity of my situation, but of course he wasn't there. So, wen sollen wir denn da mal auswählen? Das ist eine sehr, sehr schwierige Entscheidung, finde ich. Also ich glaube, die logischste Wahl wäre auf den ersten Blick Albin. Um sozusagen die Unterstützung der ReformerInnen noch stärker an uns zu binden. Allerdings haben wir die eigentlich inhaltlich ja schon. Also das ist sozusagen nicht notwendig. Die Frage ist, stößt man ihn jetzt vor dem Kopf, indem man ihn nicht wählt? Kann sein. Lucian. Lucian ist jetzt schon in einem... Meiner Meinung nach hat Lucian kein politisches Profil. Er ist jetzt schon in seiner sehr wichtigen, mächtigen und guten Position. Also das, was er liefert, sozusagen, ist gut. Und ich sehe keinen Grund, ihn aus der Position zum Vizepräsidenten zu machen. Das wäre sozusagen eine Belohnung dafür und würde vielleicht die Regierung stabilisieren. Könnte man überlegen. Gloria bringt noch eine konservative Stimme in die Regierung, neben der Innenministerin. Und das bedeutet, sie widerspricht, also sie steht eigentlich im Gegensatz zu unserer politischen Agenda. Ist die Frage, sie hat schon angedeutet, dass wenn wir konservative Ziele durchsetzen wollen, dann kann sie uns die Unterstützung der Partei sichern, aber kann sie das auch, wenn wir das nicht tun? Das ist doch die große Frage. Oder, andere Überlegung noch, müssen wir in dieser Situation, wo wir gerade den Staat und die Partei erneuern wollen, nicht auch den Konservativen gegenüber Wohlwollen zeigen und sie deswegen reinnehmen? Unter anderem deswegen, ja. Ich glaube fast, das ist der entscheidende Punkt. Um die Partei zu stabilisieren während dieser Umbruchphase, müssen wir sie, glaube ich, einbeziehen. Die Frage ist, wer wird dann Sprecherin des Parlaments? Und welche Folgen hat das für die politische Situation? Tja, ich tendiere zu Gloria. Was würdet ihr denn sagen? So, derweil meine Oliven hier rauszufischen. Wird nix. Gloria. Ich glaube, Lucian ist professionell genug, dass uns das nicht zum Nachteil wird, ihn nicht zu benennen. Hoffentlich. Albins Unterstützung haben wir so oder so. Hoffentlich. Also er kann sich natürlich als Rache dafür, dass wir ihn nicht nehmen, gegen uns wenden. Ich denke, dass die Gloria zu nehmen ist der strategisch klügste Zug. Andererseits gibt man damit den Konservativen auch eine Plattform, ne? Aber auch wenn Diversität komplizierter ist, bringt sie bessere Ergebnisse. Die Frage ist nur, ist Gloria nicht zu konservativ? damit diese schlaue Weisheit noch zutrifft. Also und damit beziehe ich mich auf empirische Befunde aus Prozessbewertung, ne? Also Produktivität, Innovativität und so weiter. Strategische Einsichten, all das wird mit diverseren Gruppen umso besser, je diverser die Gruppe ist. Auch wenn es sozusagen am Anfang länger dauert, dass die Gruppe einen Modus findet, zusammenarbeiten zu können. So sind sich zumindest die Befunde. Wir nehmen Gloria. Und Glorias Eintrag wurde aktualisiert. Dachte ich, steht hier aber jetzt nichts. Vielleicht wurde es nur im Journal ergänzt. Start of the day at the Palace. Da geht es wahrscheinlich jetzt dann um Gloria, da werden wir sie sicherlich treffen und dann die Frauenrechtssituation. Mit der beschäftigen wir uns beim nächsten Mal. Wir gehen erstmal Start of the Day. Lucian and I were on our way to my office. I was holding a mug of coffee in one hand and a folder of various documents in the other. As we turned a corner, Lucian spoke. The Ashraf anniversary is coming up soon, the most important day of the Bludish populace. Watani Ashraf is one of their symbols, as you know. Your presence at this event would show your desire for a more unified Sordland. We will reap the benefits if you decide to go, I'm sure. You are right. Lucian nodded. We rounded another corner to reach the last corridor leading to my office. Lucian suddenly stopped in front of one of the doors. The plaque that once said Vice President Peter Vektan had been removed. The door was halfway open and I could see a few workers moving boxes around the room. One of them saw us, bowed his head and changed the name tag on the door to Vice President Gloria Torrey. I heard Gloria's voice from behind him. Be careful with that box. She noticed us and immediately made her way to us. Mr. President, Mr. Galate. Are you settled in yet? Getting there, Mr. President. That reminds me. Mr. Galate, could you talk to the staff secretary for me to get the furniture sorted here? I have a few more boxes coming in. Lucian's upper lip curled. He and Gloria stared each other down for a moment. I'm not your servant, Mrs. Torrey. It was just a simple request, Mr. Galate. I don't know what's with you, but I don't like your attitude. That's the job of an office secretary, Miss Torrey, not a chief strategist. I know, as I said, it was just a simple request. I do not understand why it's becoming such a huge deal. Very well, I will do it. I will see you later, Mr. President and Mrs. Vice President. I will present you with our options on the Afrash matter later. He walked out, leaving me alone with Gloria. Well then, I must get back to the move. Thank you for visiting, Mr. President. I will stop by as soon as this is done. Do not disappoint me. Schön, Sie hier zu haben. Ich will, dass Sie mit Lucian klarkommen. Glad to have you here, Gloria. Thank you. Gloria nodded at me and I went into her room. I entered my office and asked Sylvia for a second cup of coffee to wake me up. Another long day was waiting for me. So sieht's aus. Political Overview. Ja, ist jetzt hier Gloria Tory reingerutscht. Und Albin Cleven ist jetzt Sprecher der großen Nationalversammlung. Hört, hört. Wie gut ist das denn? Was für ein glücklicher Nebeneffekt. Ah ja, hier wurde jetzt der Skandal bei Peter im Kodex ergänzt. Frank, da steht nicht viel, nur dass er in die Universität ist. Da steht jetzt nur ein Satz dazu, dass sie zur Vizepräsidentin gemacht wurde. Others. Livia Zuno. Naja, es scheint bewiesen zu sein, dass sie Ilana Vance ist. She's been held in Antle Rock Prison. Scheint ja wohl das Gefängnis überhaupt zu sein hier. Grand National Assembly. Ja gut, da steht jetzt drin, dass Albin Cleven der Sprecher geworden ist. Hervorragend. Hervorragend. Das ist eigentlich ein ganz netter Nebeneffekt. Schauen wir noch kurz, was die Nachrichten schreiben. Following the unforeseen departure of Peter Vector, President Rayne has picked Gloria Tory as his new vice president. Mrs. Tory is a well-known figure among the USP members and she is currently leader of the conservative wing of the party. She has served as the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly for many years and brings a proven track record to the table. It is official, sagt the radical voice. Gloria Tory is the new vice president. Out of all the candidates, we are amazed that she was the final pick of President Rayne. She certainly has experience, but the dynamic in between them leaves much to be desired as the two leading figures of our country. Regardless, we can say with certainty that Mrs. Tory will be a much better vice president than Peter Vector. Ja, das mag wohl zutreffen. Liebe Leute, wir haben eine neue Vizepräsidentin. Es gibt einen neuen progressiven Sprecher der Nationalversammlung, was sehr cool ist. Und wir werden uns beim nächsten Mal mit der Situation der Frauenrechte in Sordland beschäftigen. Bis dahin wünsche ich euch wie immer alles Gute und bis dann. Euer Jan.